It began with a comment so brief that most people ignored it. During a discussion about royal jewels, a former royal jeweler reportedly referenced a sapphire tiara that Queen Camilla had once admired but never wore. At first, the remark seemed insignificant, yet within days, royal watchers were revisiting decades of jewelry history, searching for answers. Why had one of the monarchy's most dazzling sapphire treasures remained out of reach, and what reason could have persuaded the queen to refuse it? Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. The remark might have lasted only a few moments, but its impact reportedly spread through royal circles with remarkable speed. According to observers who closely follow the history of the royal jewelry collection, the mention of a sapphire tiara immediately revived one of the monarchy's most intriguing unanswered questions. Royal jewels have always carried significance beyond their beauty. Every tiara, necklace, and brooch tells a story about status, trust, symbolism, and royal identity. That is why even the suggestion that a particular jewel was once desired but never granted was enough to trigger intense speculation among those fascinated by the hidden dynamics of palace life. Reports suggest the tiara in question occupied a unique position within the royal collection. While many pieces are admired for their craftsmanship, certain jewels become legendary because of the figures associated with them. According to royal historians, Queen Elizabeth II understood this better than anyone. Throughout her reign, she treated the royal collection not as a wardrobe of personal accessories, but as a carefully managed institution. Every assignment reportedly carried meaning. Every appearance sent a message. Every jewel selected for a royal event reflected years of tradition, protocol, and symbolic calculation. Because of that reputation, any reported refusal naturally attracted attention. As curiosity grew, royal observers began revisiting stories, photographs, and long-forgotten reports from previous decades. Some searched for clues regarding Camilla's reported admiration for the sapphire piece. Others focused on the queen herself, attempting to understand what factors may have influenced her decision. According to those familiar with royal traditions, jewelry choices are rarely random. The most significant pieces are often connected to rank, timing, public perception, and historical legacy. That reality only deepened the mystery. If the tiara was admired, why did it remain unavailable? What made the story especially compelling was the contrast between public appearances and private speculation. On the surface, the royal family presented an image of continuity and stability. Yet behind every state banquet, diplomatic reception, and ceremonial appearance exists a complex world of decisions rarely explained publicly. Insiders have long suggested that some of the most important conversations inside royal households concern symbolism rather than politics. A title, a residence, a patronage, or in this case, a sapphire tiara. Each carries implications that extend far beyond its immediate purpose. The fascination surrounding the reported refusal continued growing because it touched upon larger questions about influence, trust, and royal judgment. Queen Elizabeth's decisions were often viewed as deliberate, patient, and deeply considered. Supporters frequently argued that she looked years into the future when evaluating matters others viewed only in the present. That reputation encouraged endless speculation about whether the reported refusal reflected protocol, circumstance, or a much broader vision for the monarchy's future. As more people revisited the story, the focus gradually shifted away from the jewel itself and toward what it symbolized. The sapphire tiara was becoming more than a beautiful royal treasure. It was becoming a window into the hidden calculations that shape one of the world's most famous institutions. And with every new theory, every resurfaced report, and every whispered recollection, the mystery only seemed to deepen. But the mystery was never really about the tiara itself, it was about what the jewel represented inside the monarchy. Few royal treasures carry the emotional power of the great sapphire collections. Passed through generations of queens and princesses, these jewels became symbols of continuity, authority, and royal identity. Their value extended far beyond diamonds and gemstones. Each piece carried history, memory, and expectation. That is why discussions surrounding one particular sapphire tiara immediately sparked intense fascination among those who understand the hidden language of royal jewels. To the public, a tiara may appear to be nothing more than a magnificent piece of jewelry. Inside royal circles, however, such treasures often represent something far more profound. Every gemstone, every setting, and every occasion on which a tiara is worn contributes to a story that stretches across generations. The most important pieces become woven into the fabric of royal history itself. They are not simply worn, they are entrusted. And few collections have inspired more fascination than the sapphire jewels associated with the House of Windsor. For centuries, sapphires have occupied a unique place within royal symbolism. Their deep blue color has long been associated with loyalty, wisdom, stability, and duty qualities that monarchies seek to project across generations. Because of that symbolism, sapphire tiaras often became linked to some of the most significant women in royal history. Queens, consorts, and princesses carried these jewels through coronations, state visits, diplomatic receptions, and moments that would later become part of the historical record. Over time, the gems themselves seemed to absorb the weight of those memories, transforming from beautiful ornaments into powerful symbols of continuity. Queen Elizabeth II understood that significance perhaps better than anyone. Throughout her reign, she acted not merely as the owner of the royal jewelry collection, but as its steward. According to royal historians, she approached decisions involving major jewels with extraordinary care. Every assignment carried implications. Every appearance communicated a message. Certain pieces became closely associated with particular individuals, while others remained reserved for specific occasions or future generations. This careful management helped preserve the symbolic power of the collection and ensured that its most treasured items retained their historical importance. That reality helps explain why reports involving a sapphire tiara immediately captured attention. Royal observers knew that access to certain jewels was rarely determined by personal preference alone. Larger considerations often influenced those decisions. Tradition, symbolism, public perception, family dynamics, and historical precedent could all play a role. As a result, the mystery surrounding a reportedly admired but unworn sapphire tiara became increasingly intriguing. If such a piece remained unavailable, many believed there had to be a reason extending far beyond aesthetics. Public fascination only intensified because sapphire jewels already occupy a special place within royal storytelling. Some of the monarchy's most iconic images feature sapphire necklaces, brooches, earrings, and tiaras. These gems have become associated with moments of triumph, transition, and legacy. They evoke memories of beloved royal figures and connect modern audiences to earlier chapters of history. Because of that emotional connection, any story involving a major sapphire piece inevitably attracts extraordinary interest. As discussions surrounding the tiara continued, the focus gradually expanded beyond the jewel itself. People were no longer asking only about its design or value. They were asking who wore it, who did not wear it, and what those decisions revealed about the monarchy's hidden traditions. The deeper observers looked, the more they realized that the true significance of the story lay not within the gemstones, but within the relationships, judgments, and historical considerations surrounding them. As the history of the tiara came into focus, attention shifted toward the woman who reportedly hoped to wear it. Long before becoming queen, Camilla occupied a complicated position within royal life. Every public appearance, every jewel, and every protocol decision carried enormous symbolic weight. Reports suggest that among the many pieces associated with the royal collection, one sapphire tiara reportedly stood apart. Whether because of its beauty, history, or prestige, it became linked to whispers that Camilla hoped one day to wear it herself. To understand why the reported story attracted so much attention, it is important to remember the extraordinary circumstances surrounding Camilla's journey into the heart of the monarchy. Few royal figures have experienced such a dramatic transformation in public perception. For years, every aspect of her role was examined through an intense lens of scrutiny. Decisions that might have passed unnoticed for others often became subjects of national discussion. The jewels she wore, the events she attended, and even the smallest ceremonial details carried significance far beyond their immediate purpose. Within that environment, symbolism became inseparable from public image. According to long-standing royal speculation, certain jewels held particular importance because of what they represented rather than how they appeared. Among those treasures, the sapphire tiara reportedly occupied a unique place. Royal observers frequently describe major tiaras as visual expressions of trust, status, and acceptance within the institution. The most prestigious pieces often carry histories stretching back generations, linking present-day royals to the women who came before them. Because of that symbolism, any report suggesting admiration for a specific tiara inevitably generated curiosity among those who closely follow royal traditions. As Camilla's role gradually evolved over the years, discussions surrounding royal symbolism became increasingly relevant. Each public appearance seemed to reflect another step in a long process of integration into the monarchy. According to commentators, jewelry often played an understated but important role in that process. The pieces selected for major occasions were interpreted as signals of confidence, continuity, and institutional support. That reality helps explain why stories involving a highly significant sapphire tiara continued attracting attention. To many observers, the jewel represented more than beauty. It represented belonging. Reports suggest that whispers surrounding Camilla's admiration for the tiara persisted precisely because the piece carried such extraordinary prestige. Whether those reports were accurate or exaggerated, they fueled endless speculation about what wearing the tiara might have symbolized. Supporters argued that it would reflect recognition of her position within the royal family. Others viewed the issue through a more traditional lens, emphasizing the importance of historical associations attached to specific jewels. As with so many royal debates, the discussion became less about facts and more about what people believed the symbols represented. What made the story particularly fascinating was the contrast between public appearances and private assumptions. The monarchy has always communicated through symbolism, yet it rarely explains the reasoning behind individual decisions. As a result, gaps in information often become fertile ground for speculation. Every unexplained choice invites interpretation. Every absent jewel raises questions. Every reported preference becomes a potential clue to a much larger story unfolding behind palace walls. As years passed, the sapphire tiara gradually became associated with one of those enduring royal mysteries that refused to disappear. The more people discussed it, the more its significance seemed to grow. What may have begun as a simple report of admiration evolved into a broader conversation about acceptance, symbolism, and the hidden calculations shaping royal life. Yet despite all the speculation, one reality remained unchanged. The final authority over such decisions rested elsewhere. Yet the final decision never rested with Camilla, it rested with the monarch who guarded the collection. Queen Elizabeth II rarely explained her jewelry decisions publicly. Instead, she allowed tradition, symbolism, and careful judgment to guide her choices. According to royal speculation, when the question of the sapphire tiara reportedly arose, the answer was not what some expected. The refusal became one of those quiet royal moments that generated endless questions precisely because no official explanation was ever fully offered. Throughout her 70-year reign, Queen Elizabeth II developed a reputation for making decisions that often appeared simple on the surface, but carried layers of meaning beneath them. Whether assigning royal duties, granting honors, or determining the use of historic jewels, she rarely felt compelled to justify her choices publicly. That silence became one of her most powerful tools. It allowed the institution to speak through tradition rather than explanation. Yet it also created an atmosphere where certain decisions, especially those involving significant royal symbols, would continue generating speculation long after the moment itself had passed. According to royal observers, the management of the royal jewelry collection was one area where the Queen exercised particularly careful oversight. These jewels were never viewed merely as personal possessions. They represented history, continuity, and the authority of the crown itself. Every assignment carried symbolic implications. Some pieces became associated with specific royal figures. Others were reserved for occasions of extraordinary importance. Because of that tradition, access to major jewels often reflected considerations invisible to the public. What appeared to be a simple choice frequently involved years of protocol, precedent, and institutional judgment. It is precisely this reputation that made reports surrounding the sapphire tiara so intriguing. According to long-standing speculation, when the possibility of the tiara being worn allegedly arose, the outcome surprised many who expected a different result. Yet no formal explanation ever emerged. There were no public statements, no clarifications, no official reasoning offered to satisfy growing curiosity. The silence itself became part of the story. In royal circles, unanswered questions often become far more powerful than confirmed facts, and this mystery proved no exception. As rumors continued circulating, numerous theories began emerging. Some believed the decision may have been influenced by protocol. Others suggested historical associations attached to the tiara could have played a role. Certain observers argued that the queen was known for protecting the symbolic integrity of specific jewels, ensuring that their significance remained connected to particular traditions or future plans. None of these explanations were ever confirmed, yet each gained traction because they aligned with the careful and deliberate approach that had defined Elizabeth's stewardship of the collection. What fascinated insiders most was not necessarily the reported refusal itself, but what it appeared to reveal about the Queen's thinking. Elizabeth was widely regarded as someone who viewed the monarchy through a long historical lens. Decisions were rarely made solely for the present moment. Instead, they were evaluated according to how they might be viewed years or even decades later. That perspective encouraged endless speculation that the sapphire tiara represented something larger than a single ceremonial choice. Perhaps it reflected future planning. Perhaps it reflected tradition. Or perhaps it reflected considerations known only to the monarch herself. With every passing year, the unanswered nature of the story only increased its allure. The lack of a definitive explanation transformed a reported jewelry decision into one of those enduring royal mysteries that continue captivating observers long after the original circumstances have faded. What began as a question about a sapphire tiara had gradually evolved into a much broader debate about symbolism, judgment, and the hidden mechanisms of royal decision-making. As rumors spread, many began wondering whether the issue involved protocol or something much deeper. Then came the comments that reignited the entire story. A royal jeweler's remarks reportedly offered a rare glimpse into conversations normally hidden from public view. Though details remained limited, the suggestion that there had been concerns surrounding the tiara immediately fueled debate. Suddenly, years of speculation returned, and royal watchers found themselves piecing together clues from the past. What made the renewed interest so powerful was the realization that this was never simply a story about a piece of jewelry. Royal jewels have always carried meanings far beyond their appearance. Every tiara, brooch, and necklace serves as a symbol of continuity, authority, and royal identity. Because of that, the sapphire tiara at the center of the discussion quickly became a focal point for larger questions about tradition, legacy, and the careful stewardship of royal history. As media coverage intensified, observers began examining the jeweler's remarks from every possible angle. Some believed the reported concerns reflected strict protocol. Others argued that the decision may have been tied to the historical significance of the tiara itself. With no official explanation ever offered, the mystery only deepened. The lack of certainty encouraged endless interpretations, each attempting to explain why such an important jewel reportedly remained unavailable despite years of speculation. The deeper people looked, the more the controversy seemed to reveal broader tensions inside the monarchy. At a time when the institution was balancing tradition with modernization, even a single jewelry decision appeared capable of reflecting larger questions about succession, symbolism, and royal priorities. What began as a passing comment from a former royal jeweler had evolved into a fascinating debate about how royal history is preserved and who ultimately decides which traditions continue into the future. Yet the most revealing aspect of the story may be what it says about Queen Elizabeth's approach to legacy. Throughout her reign, Queen Elizabeth II developed a reputation for thinking decades ahead. Decisions that appeared minor in the moment often carried long-term significance. Supporters argue that every assignment, every honor, and every jewel placement formed part of a larger vision for the institution. If the reported refusal truly occurred, many believe it reflected that same careful commitment to preserving royal legacy. What makes the sapphire tiara story so enduring is that it seems to capture the very essence of Elizabeth's approach to monarchy. She was widely admired for viewing royal stewardship as a responsibility extending far beyond her own lifetime. Every choice was measured not only by its immediate impact but by how it might influence the institution years later. To her supporters, that long-term perspective explains why certain traditions remained protected and why some symbols were treated with extraordinary care. If the reported decision regarding the sapphire tiara was indeed deliberate, many believe it reflected a desire to preserve historical meaning rather than satisfy short-term expectations. Years later, the fascination has never truly faded. the Sapphire Tiara remains surrounded by mystery, speculation, and unanswered questions. Some view the story as a matter of protocol. Others see it as a reflection of royal strategy and symbolism. Yet the reason it continues captivating audiences is simple. The jewel represents far more than gemstones and craftsmanship. It represents power, continuity, legacy, and the hidden decisions that shape the monarchy behind closed doors. Every generation inherits these stories, adding new interpretations while searching for answers that may never fully emerge. In the end, the lasting appeal of the Sapphire Tiara mystery lies not in whether every rumor was true, but in what the story reveals about the House of Windsor itself. It highlights the delicate balance between tradition and change, personal preference and institutional duty, public fascination and private judgment. Most of all, it serves as a reminder that some of the monarchy's most powerful moments are not found in official announcements, but in the unanswered questions that continue echoing through history. And while the truth behind the Sapphire Tiara may never be fully known, its place in royal legend appears more secure than ever. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.